What do these Minnesotans have in common? Besides antifreeze in their veins, of course. And these folks, too. They all have something in common. Besides surviving tornadoes, of course. And these folks, too. Wait, do they all caddy at Interlaken? No, they all got notes from this man, Don Peddie. And tonight, they want to send a great big thank you back to him. So who is he and how did he earn thank yous from so many people? David Donald Peddie was born March 25th, 1919 at Hillcrest Hospital in Minneapolis, the only son of William and Jennifer Peddie. His father, who was born in Dundee, Scotland, was the treasurer of the Minneapolis Moline Power Implement Company. His mother, Jenny, was born in Minneapolis herself, of Norwegian parents. His parents raised him at 46th and Ewing, at the time, the outskirts of Minneapolis. From an early age, it was clear he might become a fashion model. The Don Peddie Dinner Committee, through a series of protracted negotiations with Don's lawyers and agents, secured these private photos from an early portfolio. His parents also taught him the game of golf at the Lafayette Country Club, where they were members. He excelled at it from the start, winning tournaments and making his way out of sand traps every chance he got. He attended the Blake School, where he graduated in 1937. He was the publications editor, played basketball and golf, winning the school's Harvard trophy as the leading scholar athlete in his class. At Blake, it became clear that his golf skills were truly outstanding. In fact, the game drew his attention away from his fashion modeling career. Don, who does your pants? Admitted to Harvard, Don continued his publications career. He wrote all 4 years for the Harvard Crimson, becoming sports editor his senior year. His fellow crime-eds at 14 Plimpton Street included Cleveland Amory and Casper Weinberger. He starred on the golf team during his sophomore, junior, and senior years. After graduating, someone even offered to sponsor him on the professional tour. He turned it down, however, figuring he had more of a future in business. Don lived in Lowell House, earned his A.B. in French history with the class of 1941, and was head cheerleader his senior year. Don, here's 3 cheers for you. He met his bride, Betty, at a dance at Wellesley. They were married in 1943 after Don had received his degree in industrial administration from the Harvard Business School and just before he entered the Army in the Quartermaster Corps. 2 years as junior, Betty was a journalist and artist. After the Army, in 1947, Don and Betty moved to Minneapolis. He worked for Minneapolis Moline until 1955, when he joined the Minneapolis Star and Tribune Company. During these early years, he established the foundation of his dynasty as Harvard's head cheerleader in the upper Midwest. Chairman, Harvard Club of Minnesota, Schools Committee, 1948 to 1975. President, Harvard Club, 1951 to 52. Director, Harvard Alumni Association, 1952 to 55. President, Harvard Business School Club of Minnesota, 1957 to 58. While recruiting hundreds of Minnesota scholar athletes for Harvard and Radcliffe, Don and Betty raised 3 daughters, Sandra, Monica, and Donna, the oldest, who sadly died in 1982 at the age of 34. The family owned a condo at Breezy Point, where Don could golf and enjoy fishing and boating. Chippy, the family dog, jumped for joy. Don became personnel director of the Star Tribune in 1962, director of organization development in 1974, and retired in 1980. He helped create and run the Bush Foundation Leadership Program from 1965 to 79, and then served as the program's full-time director until 1990. Don and Betty were married 48 years. She died in 1991. Even in retirement, Don continues his publications career. He writes a golf column for the Lake Country Echo covering the Breezy Point area. Throughout the years, Don has been a fashion plate. At his 25th reunion with his classmates, including Henry Dorr and Bob Ritter, Don displayed his sartorial talents in his stovepipe hat and tux. Wouldn't his parents have been proud to see him then? Or maybe not. Don, just who does do your pants? Glorious Apollo, from on high beheld us, wandering to find a temple for his grace. At his 50th reunion in 1991, he still stood out of the crowd. The previous fall, at its 150th anniversary, the Harvard Alumni Association honored Don with a special award for outstanding service to the university. Don Peddie has touched the lives of hundreds of young people. He sought us out, told us about Harvard and Radcliffe, a place we may never have heard of or dreamed could play a role in our lives. He encouraged us, befriended us, gave us new opportunities, and changed our lives. Don shows us commitment, energy, what spirit is all about. He makes a difference to young people, to peers, to those he serves, to his community, to Harvard itself. So this is the man to whom we want to say, thank you, Don Peddie. Thank you, Don Peddie. Thank you, Don Peddie.
Don, I'm sending you my very best wishes from Europe, which is where I am at this very moment. I know that you're surrounded by masses of friends, and I do so wish that I were there. I'll miss not only you, Don, but a host of other Harvard people who are assembled, quite rightly, to do you honor. Particularly, I want to greet Bill Cleary and Ron Tomasoni, who together with your help have made hockey program at Harvard the envy of the nation. All three of you have always stood for the very best in college hockey, just as you have stood for the very best in helping deserving students and athletes to gain the education that Harvard offers. I was always delighted to be a small part in your team here in Minnesota, in talking to recruits for Harvard, and that is in the days when this was legal. Sometimes on the phone you gave me more information than I thought I really needed. But when I made the call, it proved that you were right. I know that Henry Dorr is with you this evening, helping to uphold the honor of the class of 1941, of which I'm a member. You know, some say that Elliot Richardson is our most distinguished class member. I don't really agree. To me, our most distinguished class member is Don Peddie, for he has brought to Harvard a whole series of dedicated men and women who, by their own successes, have brought such credit to Harvard, to themselves, and above all to you, who made it all possible. Congratulations to you, Don, on the occasion of this tribute to you that is so, so well deserved.